What's going on, guys? Bengal again here, coming back at you with another video. And today, a couple quick things. One, my face is a little bit yellow. It's bruising. I had my wisdom teeth out. Haven't recorded a video in 7 or 8 days, so we're back here on a Monday doing a 2021 NFL mock draft video. So if my voice sounds different, which to me, it sounds super different right now, even if you can't tell a difference. It feels super raspy and just higher pitched than usual maybe, but it is what it is. We're going to muscle through here. Finally feeling better. Finally feeling like recording a video. I've had so many ideas that I've wanted to put out for you guys, but I'm finally able to actually do something. And again, we're going to do a mock draft today. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. I feel like weekly mock drafts could be awesome on the channel. So let me know if you'd like to see that down in the comment section below. And hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. Also, finally got my Skip the Combine merch in. I think it looks super awesome. You can find the link to that in the description if you care. If you're an NFL fan, maybe you might like that. And I've already mapped this out a bit because a couple things to note quickly. This is a mock draft. For the draft order, like, I would be 99% sure that this is not going to be the draft order to the, you know, when it comes time to the actual draft. I'm 100% sure. There's no way that this is the ending up as the final draft order. There's no chance. Right now, this is based off of what has happened in week 2. And all these teams up near the top are 0-2 to 1-1 up to 2-0, right? So this will change a lot. This is the order on the draftnetwork.com. This is the draft order on their site. It's projections. It's random based on record. Don't get too hung up about the actual draft order. However, we're going to do it with this draft order, you know, assuming that this is ending up what it ends up being. A little bit redundant there, but if this is how the final draft order is, we got to rock with it. We're going to pretend like that's the case. So don't get too hung up on the draft order. But, you know, I think overall a lot of these bad teams are going to be like picking near the top. And a lot of these teams, I wouldn't be shocked if they're in the top 10. Like the Jets, like the Bengals, like the Panthers, like the Dolphins, like the Giants, like the Jaguars. Football team's been doing a little bit better. But they got, I don't know, they had a lucky week 1 maybe. But yeah, for the most part, it seems like the bad teams are up near the top. Again, just don't get too hung up on the order. For the prospects as well, a lot of this is projection. So it's how well do you expect them to improve and play in 2020 versus, you know, how much hype they have. So some of these guys that we have in the first round, maybe a lot of them won't end up being first-round picks. Some of these guys won't end up going into the draft at all. And some guys are going to come out of nowhere like Joe Burrow did last year and end up being, you know, first-round picks and probably high overall picks at that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Jets on the clock at number 1. We're going Trevor Lawrence. This is pretty simple for me. It's coming up to the end of the Sam Darnold era. He's, like, pretty bad. I know he doesn't have a lot of help. It's a tough situation, but he has not played exceptionally well, as the Jets probably expected he could when they picked him inside the top 5. I think at, number 3 in 2017, 2018. So it was definitely 2018. But yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? How often are you going to be able to pick at number 1 in the draft? How often is a player like Trevor Lawrence going to be on the board there? I think this is up to 2 guys, either Trevor Lawrence or Penei Sewell at this spot, but we're going to give him Trevor Lawrence. That frees up the Bengals to take Penei Sewell, offensive tackle out of Oregon. You got to protect Joe Burrow. I think they probably have their franchise left tackle in Jonah Williams, but Penei Sewell can maybe even play right tackle. Jonah Williams could move inside to guard. Either way, you have to take the best offensive lineman in the draft, and that's Penei Sewell. He's phenomenal. Super, super young. He might be only 19 or 20 years old right now. Stud player. Really, really good offensive lineman. The Bengals could certainly benefit from that. At number 3, we're going to keep the quarterback trend going inside the top couple of picks here, and that is by taking Justin Fields. Panthers snagged themselves their quarterback of the future. Teddy Bridgewater has not looked good. And I saw some people on Twitter say this was a terrible contract. It was not a terrible contract for Teddy Bridgewater at all. He was only, an excuse to pun here, meant to be a bridge quarterback from one to the other. From, you know, Cam Newton era ending. What are they going to do in the intermediate before they can actually take a new quarterback? That's what Teddy Bridgewater was. If he played really well, all right, great. If not, you can just cut him after 2 years and they basically take no penalty at all. So Teddy Bridgewater will probably end up being cut in 2 years. It is what it is for Teddy B. Justin Fields is their new QB of the future in there. Dolphins are going to keep a Miami player in Miami. That's Gregory Russo. He opted out Really, really good player. Loved him last year. Dolphins could use the help, pretty much anywhere. I think Gregory Russo is probably not only the best player available at this spot, but also a good fit for them. They need pass rushers, especially on the outside, and Gregory Russo fits the bill. Giants at number 5. This is going to be an interesting one because who knows if Dave Gettleman's going to be there at this point, right? Who knows if the Giants are going to go offense or defense. Defense is really bad, but the offense has not looked good either. I think they need to go with Micah Parsons at this point. He is an extremely versatile player that fits in a number of different schemes. And as a 3-4 outside linebacker that can drop off and play off the ball and also get after the QB, I think Micah Parsons fits really well. He's not really a typical edge rusher, but he's more of a traditional Sam linebacker that can just do a lot of different things. And when you take someone like Parsons that fits multiple different fronts, can rush the passer, and can play in coverage pretty well, he's especially unreal as a run stopper. He shoots gaps and plays sideline to sideline like you wouldn't believe. Really would help out the Giants. They're extremely weak on the edge in general and on their defense. I know they have a lot of issues in the secondary as well. This could definitely be a Patrick Surtain spot, but we're going to give him Micah Parsons. I just think he's too versatile and too good for the Giants to pass up. Even though, as a Giants fan, I hate it. Giants haven't taken a linebacker in the first round since I can remember. I mean, I don't even know who the last first-round linebacker the Giants would have taken. I can tell you the last good one that the Giants had was Antonio Pierce, and that was a free agent acquisition in like 2005. So, I mean, it's been a minute. For the Jaguars here, I'm going to take a cornerback, and it's going to be Patrick Surtain. I think this could be a Dylan Moses spot as well, maybe even Jamar Chase. I feel like their receiver room is not too bad. I like DJ Chark a lot. D.D. Westbrook's pretty good. Chris Conley is a decent receiver in there as well. And, of course, Laviska Shenault, ton of potential, second-round pick for the Jags. I don't really think they should go receiver here. I know they took C.J. Henderson in the first round this past year, but why not get a lockdown cornerback on the other side? Build a fantastic secondary. I don't really trust Trey Herndon or DJ Hayden. I think Patrick Surtain would be a great addition and someone that the Jaguars should definitely consider at that spot. Washington football team at number 7. It's got to be the best offensive lineman available. And I think that's probably going to be Alex Leatherwood at this point. You're taking a tackle. You're securing the outside for whoever your quarterback ends up being. I think they're still going to stick with Dwayne Haskins at this point. I like Haskins. I know he hasn't looked incredible this year. He hasn't had a lot of help. His offensive line is really, really bad. And when you're talking about the weapons, outside of Terry McLaurin, there's nothing. Like Logan Thomas is next quarterback playing tight end. They have Steven Sims. They have Dontrell Inman. This is not a good offense. It really isn't. So an offensive playmaker of some sort could also be the move here. Like Jamar Chase at number 7, I think would be a really, really good pick for them. But unfortunately, he doesn't end up being the pick as a focus on offensive line, we're going to say. That frees up the Lions to go with Jamar Chase, though. And I mean, I get it. This is all speculation at this point. I just figured that with the depth of the receiver class, I feel like teams would be more hesitant to take receivers inside the top 10 especially. So Washington football team could come back and take a receiver at the top of the second round, somewhere in that range. There are a bunch of really good ones who might be available. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, would fit in really, really well there. Maybe even a big body to go alongside Terry McLaurin, and that would be Sage Surratt. That could be Seth Williams plays big. Tylan Wallace is a really good route runner. Doesn't have that huge size that maybe you'd look for. Chris Olave is a really good talent as well. I mean, the receiver class is super, super strong. I mean, you can even look down the board here. I don't know if Justin Ross is going to come out. I don't expect that he will, so I'm not going to have him in here. Tamorrion Terry is a really big body. That's a tremendous playmaker. So there are definitely a lot of options. They could certainly take receiver, but I have him tackle. For the Lions, Kenny Golladay is a really good player. He's coming up into a contract year pretty soon. Marvin Jones is getting to the wrong side of 30. He's coming up into a contract year pretty soon. So receiver's a big need for the Lions who don't have much outside of that. So I'm going with Jamar Chase. Dolphins on the board here at number 9. This one's interesting, but I'm going to have the Dolphins go with Jalen Waddle. Waddle is my favorite player in college football right now. He is so good. And it's not even just about his elite speed, which is, up there. He like low 4.3s, I don't think he'll get into the 4.2 range, but I think 4.3 for sure. But it's about his acceleration. It's among the best I've ever seen. This guy gets from 0 to 100 about as quickly as you'll ever see anybody go. He runs so fast, and he gets up to that top gear unbelievably quickly. Great hands as well. He's just a lot more than a speed guy. I think a lot of guys labeled Ruggs as just a speed guy out of Alabama last year. Not just a speed guy, good route runner, good hands. Jalen Waddle's in the same exact aspect. Now, he's only 5'10", but he does play a lot bigger than that. I think it's similar to the way Odell's only 5'11", but plays like he's, a few inches taller because of his ability to go vertical and get the football. Jalen Waddle's in that same range. Love him. I think the Dolphins could use some more playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. I love Preston Williams. Devontae Parker finally broke out, but Jalen Waddle is someone that could really, really take the top off the defense and make that offense dynamic. You're bringing a weapon that Tua Tagovailoa already had, already familiar with, and this is a really, really good addition to this Dolphins offense. We have the Broncos. Broncos are an interesting team at this point because they could go a number of different directions. I know they're super weak on the inside. So Dylan Moses is going to be my pick here. I thought about cornerback. I had a cornerback when this draft order was a little bit different, but Dylan Moses is a really, really good player. I was so high on him before his ACL tear, and it's unfortunate that he was injured and lost a year of playing football. Really fun player to watch. Another sideline to sideline guy. It feels like every linebacker nowadays is. They just have like 4.4 speed and can go, run with receivers. It's pretty unbelievable. But Moses hits so hard, is really good in coverage. The complete package at linebacker. And for the Broncos, who have pretty much nothing on the inside, I like A.J. Johnson. I do. I like him. Or Alexander Johnson, whatever he goes by now. But they don't have much outside of that. I think they cut Todd Davis. Dylan Moses would be a very big addition to this offense and defense, because sometimes the best offense is a good defense. Do they say that? They don't. I misspoke, but we're going to run with it. For the Falcons at number 11, this is kind of a tough decision for me because they're weak in a number of different areas on the defensive side of the ball, but they're picking pretty high here. Again, a lot higher than I think they're going to be picking. But I'm going to give them an edge rusher at this spot, and I think the best one for them, scheme fit-wise, is Kwity Paye out of Michigan. This is someone that reminds me of Takk McKinley in a lot of ways, so I feel like the Falcons might want to add him to their defense. Takk McKinley is an impending free agent. Fifth-year option was not picked up. Seems like they don't want him. So Kwity Paye is a fine replacement. This is someone who, in my mind, is not super versatile. Reminds me a lot of these Michigan edge rushers that have come out, like Taco Charlton. Even I don't really consider Rashawn Gary to be an edge rusher, even though that's his position. But all these guys are roughly the same height and weight and are not super dynamic. But Paye is certainly a solid player. Aiden Hutchinson's on the same exact wavelength as well. They're just big guys that are not super dynamic but solid players. And I know that's not what you want to hear from someone you're drafting at number 11 overall, but you never know what a player can develop into. I think this is a high ceiling player, a high floor player with maybe not much of a super high ceiling. Have to see what he does in 2020 now that Big Ten football is back. Going to be super fun. Hope he can develop into a beast, but we're going to give the Falcons him at 11. Eagles have a very, very tough decision here because their team overall that's pretty weak. And they do have talent, but they have a lot of holes, and Carson Wentz is not playing well. And I think a big reason for that is maybe not having enough weapons on the offense side of the ball. And I think Devontae Smith out of Alabama is someone that can actually catch, sure-handed receiver that joins the Eagles team, gives Carson Wentz an actual number one target that he hasn't had since Alshon Jeffrey was good. I mean, outside of Zach Ertz, obviously he's been their main target, but he's a tight end. We want somebody on the outside, and Devontae Smith could be that. Chargers, another tough one. Their offensive line's pretty weak. They brought in Brian Bulaga. I'm not sure tackle's the biggest need overall. That left side could be shored up. Justin Herbert's blind side. Cornerback is another interesting one because of Desmond King. He might not get re-signed. He's been tweeting about it. Seems like he either wants a contract or wants to play. It's a weird situation. But I'm actually going to be a little bit weird here and give them a receiver, and that's going to be Rondelle Moore out of Purdue. I think he's a really good addition to this offense. There isn't much outside of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen at receiver specifically. I know Hunter Henry's a great target when he's actually on the field, but Rondelle Moore can line up in the slot and be a versatile playmaker for them. He doesn't necessarily only have to, be a receiver, as he could play coming out of the backfield as well. Like, really, really versatile talent. Awesome value at return man, and I think speed kills a lot of the time. And you see some of these guys go really, really high because they're really, really fast. John Ross comes to mind. Tavon Austin comes to mind. And I think Rondelle Moore is a Tavon Austin type player. And while Tavon Austin was a really, really bad pick at the time, I think in today's NFL, a player like Tavon Austin is that much more valuable. We see what Tyreek Hill has developed into. I think Rondelle Moore could be that same type of player where he's versatile and they use him in a number of different ways. As we get to the Vikings here at 14. Another tough pick. We could go Rashad Bateman, keep the Minnesota guy in Minnesota. But they're so weak all over the place. I would give them Creed Humphrey. I don't really think they need a center at this point with Garrett Bradbury. So we're going to go to IOL anyway, give them some help on the interior with Wyatt Davis, who is certainly a more than capable guard. Really, really good player. He unopted out now that Big Ten football is back. I guess he got convinced by Justin Fields, but he would be a really good addition to this Vikings team. Linebacker is another one that they could take. I like Eric Kendricks. I like Anthony Barr, who's out for the season now. Terrible. But I think their offensive line needs a lot of help. Receiver is another position here that I think they could target. But again, it's a deep class. You don't really need to take one here at number 14, although I could certainly see them doing so. At 15, I'm going to go with a player that's falling down the board a little bit, and that's Marvin Wilson. I think he's a top 10 player in the class right now. Marvin Wilson offers a pass rush that you rarely see from interior defenders. Really, really quick off the ball, and his rush moves are up at the top of any college football prospect that you'll see on the inside at defensive tackle. Raiders could use a lot of help in that regard. I don't think linebacker is a big need. They have Raekwon McMillan. They have Nick Kwiatkowski. They have Corey Littleton. All those are new additions. Give them a year or two to work in the system, and I think that core is going to be playing a lot better. Marvin Wilson's my pick here. As we get to the Browns at 16, it's a tough one because the Browns' biggest need, undoubtedly, in my opinion, is linebacker. Unquestionably. A lot of injuries have hurt them as well, but even with a healthy Mac Wilson, there's not a lot else there. Like Sione Takitaki, I don't love. They took Jacob Phillips out of LSU. Didn't really love him at LSU. They don't really have much on the inside, but this is not a particularly strong linebacker class. I like Cameron McGrone quite a lot. I think he has a lot of potential to improve and get better. And this year with Big Ten football coming back, his stock could go super, super high. Right now on the Draft Network's board, he's listed at 59. I think that could go a whole lot higher. Nick Bolton gets a ton of hype, but I don't really think he's a first-round guy. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, is more of a traditional will. I don't really think that he's someone that can play on the inside, but maybe they wouldn't need him to. I'm not sure that he's someone that the Browns would consider here at 16. So this is kind of a tough spot for them with someone like Dylan Moses off the board. They could definitely use help on the edge because Olivier Vernon probably won't be in Cleveland for too much longer. I think their interior is pretty solid. They've got a bunch of playmakers. So Quincy Roche or Carlos Basham I think would make a lot of sense here. I just don't love the options. Their interior is not especially strong either. I think tackle is perfect for the future. I'm not really sure whether that's a team need. Safety is certainly a team need with injuries, but we're going to give them Quincy Roche. You can never really have too many edge rushers, and the Browns, when losing Olivier Vernon, will not have too many edge rushers. They're going to need some help. So Quincy Roche fills in there pretty well. This decision is pretty easy for me. I don't believe in Mitchell Trubisky at all. We're going to have the Bears take Trey Lance. Ton of potential out of North Dakota State. Again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I believe he was one of the opt-outs. I don't think he's playing this year. So do teams trust Trey Lance enough to take him in the first round after one season of playing in the FCS? Not sure. But I like Trey Lance. He had awesome tape from what you could see. Again, it's not against great competition, but you're not really watching the competition so much as you're seeing how he progresses through reads and how accurate his balls are. This is not a Manscaped sponsored video, but, does he have the touch? Does he have the accuracy deep down the field? And yes, Trey Lance has a beautiful deep ball, and I don't want to give him all this credit in the world, right? But he has traits similar to Patrick Mahomes coming out of Texas Tech. He even plays a little bit less erratically and is even more of a runner. Or power runner, I should say. Patrick Mahomes has some pretty great mobility when he's working out of the pocket. But Lance, I like him a lot. There's just not enough to put him inside the top 10. I think even at 17, here's maybe a bit of a stretch, but Bears would certainly get their QB of the future if Trey Lance can develop. At number 18, we have the Indianapolis Colts. This is a little bit of a tough one for me, but I'm going to give him a cornerback. I think Caleb Farley works the best. Now, I know a lot of guys are going to be wanting Shaun Wade to go here, and Shaun Wade could certainly propel himself up a lot higher than, outside the top 20, which is what it's looking like right now. But my issue with Shaun Wade is we have really only seen him play in the nickel as a slot cornerback, and I don't trust that a team would take him that high to be a nickel corner, right? I love Shaun Wade. He's been a dynamic playmaker from the slot, but teams take boundary cornerbacks. I'm losing my voice a little bit here. But teams take boundary cornerbacks high, and Shaun Wade is not proven to be one of those just yet. Again, I like him quite a bit, but he's got to prove he can play on the outside if a team's going to take him high. Caleb Farley is really good and really underrated by fans. Farley is super smooth. Technique is incredible. Probably has the best ball skills of any corner in the draft. This is a guy who came to Virginia Tech as a receiver. Really, really good player. It's just so smooth watching him play. He's so clean. Hip turn, fluid. Caleb Farley is really the definition of fluid in my mind right now. And the Colts get a really, really good boundary corner, in my opinion. This is another tough one because the Titans are a team that has a lot of potential. Their offensive line is perfect. They have the best offensive line, rushing the football in the league. And there's no doubt about it in my mind. Derrick Henry is untouched for 5 yards before, he makes someone miss. And when you get that type of weight, getting up to full speed because he's untouched, he becomes so much better because he doesn't have to worry about being elusive near the line of scrimmage. He just runs straight, and he's going to get 4 or 5 yards untouched, and he'll fall through people for another 3 or 4, and if he makes somebody miss because he's so big, he's going for 20. So the Titans don't really need help on offense, in my opinion, other than maybe receiver, but I love A.J. Brown. If they bring back Corey Davis, it's not really much of a concern. This has to be a defender. I like what they have on the edge. They brought in Clowney. I know that's a one-year deal. We'll see if they can retain him. I love Harold Landry. This has to be someone on the interior. Their secondary is evolving. This has to be a defensive tackle, and I think the best one available is Jalen Twyman. He opted out, but that doesn't excuse what he did last year. Jalen Twyman's tape last year at Pitt was phenomenal. This is a guy who can get after the QB. Again, one of the best interior pass rushers in this draft. Really good run stopper as well. Twyman is close to a top 10 talent, in my opinion, as well. Really love what he brings to the table. And when you have a defensive line now that has Jalen Twyman and Jeffrey Simmons, wow. You have so much on the interior there. I think Daquan Jones is probably leaving, but this would be a really, really good pick for the Titans. With our first pick for the Jaguars, we took Patrick Surtain, the second. So we're going to address the offensive side of the ball. Second year in a row that the Jags will have 2 first-round picks. Of course, now that I say that, they'll probably end up trading out or getting another one somehow. But we're going to give him Sam Cosmi. Really like him at this spot. Jags need help on the offensive line. Left tackle is a disaster. Cameron Robinson cannot be their future. I think Sam Cosmi works well. Seen him play his entire career. Texas is a Texas Longhorns fan, and he's been, absolutely awesome. So Jags get their franchise left tackle. I think they have a good right tackle in Juwan Taylor. I think that offensive line's coming together. We'll see if they hold on to Andrew Norwell, and Brendan Linder's awesome. A.J. Kahn is serviceable at right guard. This would be a really solid offensive line with the addition of a great left tackle, and Sam Cosmi could end up being that for the Jaguars. At 21, perfect spot for Creed Humphrey, bringing the Oklahoma center to the Cardinals with Kyler Murray. I think there was overlap there. I think Creed Humphrey did play 1 year with Kyler, so works out Creed Humphrey to Arizona and meets up with his Oklahoma teammate, Kyler Murray. Even if they didn't play together, Creed Humphrey was certainly on the team, but I think he was their starting center when Kyler was a junior, if I'm not mistaken. But Creed Humphrey to the Cardinals improves that offensive line on the interior, probably their biggest need. For the Patriots, this is a tough one because receivers are a really, really weak position for them. I like Julian Edelman, but he's like 34. I like Jacoby Myers. Is he even on the team anymore, though? Hard to tell because I never see him. N'Keal Harry, I think, is a solid player, but they don't really have much outside of really Harry and Julian Edelman. Tight end's a weird position as well. They have Izzo. They drafted Dalton Keene and Devin Asiasi. There's not really a ton there, but also that offense is always going to be productive. I hate to just say it, but they're going to find a way with whoever they have. I don't think it's a huge need, but what I think is a huge need is the interior of the defensive line, and I think a perfect player for them for what they're looking for is like a Danny Shelton type player in Jay Tufele at USC. He's not really as much of a nose as Shelton is. You can see he's only 315 pounds. You see Shelton's 350. But Tufele offers a pass rush as well with that size, but mainly more of a run stuffer there. And I think a really good addition to this Patriots defensive line. Now, I want to give the Steelers Christian Barmore here. Really solid player with potential. That's the biggest thing with Barmore is he has potential. We'll have to see what he does in 2020. But again, a lot of potential. However, I think that a bigger issue is their secondary. And cornerback's fine. Kind of some weird situations with contracts and Joe Hayden getting older and Mike Hilton potentially leaving. Steven Nelson's been fantastic for the Steelers. You have to give credit where credit is due. But safety is a different story. Outside of Minkah Fitzpatrick, there really isn't a ton. Sean Davis is the backup to Terrell Edmunds, who, and I don't want to be mean here, but I'm going to be. Terrell Edmunds is awful. He's terrible. You need help at strong safety. You need help at linebacker. And I think someone that could certainly satisfy two of those needs is what the Steelers probably wanted Terrell Edmunds to be, and that is a versatile safety that can come up and play in the box. And what else is Hamza Nasir-El-Din if not that? He's 6'4", probably closer to 220 pounds, moves again so fluidly, and can be a guy that can play in the back end. He has experience playing over the top, but won't have to do that with Minkah Fitzpatrick there. And you can have Hamza Nasir-El-Din, play near the box, potentially in a rover role, and just be a huge addition. Big hitter, Steelers love that addition to their defense. Packers at 24. This is a tough one as well because the Packers just don't seem to want to give any weapons to Aaron Rodgers whatsoever. They'll take A.J. Dillon over maybe a solid receiver that could help them. They'll take, a quarterback when Aaron Rodgers has a few good years left for sure. So what do we want to take here? I don't really love cornerback at this spot. Linebacker is super weak. I think Oren Burks is starting, which is bad. They lost Blake Martinez, who was bad, but still lost a starter. Lost Kyler Fackrell, who came off the edge sometimes, and he played a lot. So what do the Packers take here? Not a whole lot at linebacker. Owusu Koromoa would be playing on the inside here. Probably not his best role. I don't love the linebacker options. Again, I like Cameron McGrone if he can develop. But I think for me, I am going to go with a receiver, and Rashad Bateman makes the most sense. He's a player who's pretty similar to Davante Adams in a lot of ways, where he doesn't have maybe the elite speed, but is a very polished route runner with good hands. And again, very good addition to their offense, which I think with Aaron Rodgers playing well is always going to be dynamic. He's just such a good player. So give him a good receiver to work with in Rashad Bateman, and maybe have more there outside of Davante Adams. Bills at 25, another tough one for me. I kind of like Deion Dawkins on their offensive line. At cornerback, outside of Tre'Davious White, I do like Levi Wallace, but he's an impending free agent. Teron Johnson, I think, kind of in that same area. They need help on the defensive line. I think edge is a pretty big need. Carlos Basham could be the move here. But I'm going to give him a cornerback, and we're going to give someone to the Bills with physical gifts, and that is going to be Shaun Wade. Really good player. Of course, we talked about him playing in the nickel quite a bit. I think Shaun Wade is too good to pass up at this point. I think the Steelers maybe would have considered Shaun Wade a lot here, especially if they're losing Mike Hilton. I just decided to give him a more versatile player. I know people are going to be really upset with me that Shaun Wade is dropping here. He's just kind of an unknown entity. And a player like Noah Igbenogany, who was taken exclusively to play in the nickel, went to the Dolphins at like pick number 31 last year. And even though I think Shaun Wade has potential to be in this top 10 range, people are going to be mad at me. I think he can be in the top 10 for sure. We don't know because we've only seen him play in the slot pretty much. So I can't trust him to go much higher than this. You could see it somewhere like maybe to the Colts instead, even though they already have a solid nickel corner. It's just, can Shaun Wade play on the outside? I believe that he can, but we don't know just yet. So I have him dropping off a little bit. It is what it is. I'm going to have the Cowboys take a tight end in Pat Freiermuth out of Penn State. I think this is a good range for a tight end. Freiermuth is a really good player. And the Cowboys don't have a lot at tight end. I think Dalton Schultz is their starter right now, which is not good. Buccaneers at 27. We're going to give him Quincy Roche. I took Quincy Roche much earlier, right? 16. I'm going to give him Carlos Basham. Kind of the same type of profile. I did this earlier. I had Quincy Roche. But I guess I took him a lot earlier in this one. So Carlos Basham is going to be my pick here out of Wake. I don't love him, honestly. He's more of a run defender than someone who gets after the quarterback routinely. I don't trust his rush moves, but he's solid at setting the edge, which is kind of what the Bucs need with someone like Shaq Barrett on the other side. So Basham is definitely a solid player, worth taking a chance on here at 27. 49ers need a corner. I think Israel Mukuamu makes a lot of sense. He's super big, offers a lot of physicality that the 49ers, I'm sure, would cherish at corner. Paulson Adebo would work well as a zone corner opposite Richard Sherman if he stays there and playing at a high level. Could go Tyson Campbell as well. Super fast, a lot of athleticism. It's just which corner do we want to give him? I think Paulson Adebo makes more sense to me. Just because he's one of the better zone corners in the draft. I think that works well for the 49ers. Jets on the clock at number 29. I think we're going to say this is the end of the Le'Veon Bell era. They're going to take a running back at the end of the first round. I know they have a lot more needs than that, but Travis Etienne, they need running back like badly. Frank Gore is their starter right now. It's pretty bad. So we're going to say Le'Veon Bell. Unfortunately, his time is over in New York for the most part. Could go receiver at this point. I totally understand that. But Etienne is my pick. For the Ravens, this has to be an interior offensive lineman. Myers is more of a center. I think Trey Smith is a lot better than maybe the 35th overall player in the class. He struggled with some medical stuff, but when he's on the field and healthy, he is phenomenal. Offers you a lot of versatility as well. And I think if he did play tackle at one point, if I'm not mistaken. But we're going to have him play on the inside here. They need a lot of help at guard with the absence of Marshall Yanda. And when Lamar Jackson has time to throw, he is, arguably the best quarterback in the league. I think it goes Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson. But as dynamic as Lamar Jackson is, when you just let him be a pocket passer, he can kill you in that way as well. And shoring up the inside of the offensive line would be wise for the Ravens to do that. Saints here at number 31. I'm going to have them go with the will linebacker we talked about quite a bit in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Offers speed. I think, again, can slide into that will role with Demario Davis on the inside. Saints need a lot of help at linebacker. I don't trust Alex Anzalone. So they don't really have much else after that as well. So Owusu-Koramoah is the pick. And then the Chiefs at 32. It's a tough one for them because I think they do need help on the offensive line in general. But Kalichi Osemele's done a good job for them. And the only reason that he was not on a team was because of injury. Weird situation with the Jets, and he got cut for a weird reason. But he's great. If Laurent Duvernay-Tardif comes back, he's one of the best guards in the league. At right tackle, they have Mitchell Schwartz. They're fine. Are you really going to take a center here at 32? Potentially. You could shore up left tackle. I'm not sure how much you love Eric Fisher at left tackle. But there are a lot of options here. I think they also do need help at linebacker especially. But there aren't a ton of great linebackers here. Could take an edge rusher. But we're going to ride the hot hand. I've been talking about him pretty much, all video. I'm going to go Cameron McGrone here out of Michigan. I think he can be someone that develops into a stud, and with Big Ten football here, he could definitely end up being a high first-round pick. Maybe not inside the top 10, but inside the top 20. He could end up not being a first-round pick at all. But if he can develop, he has all the tools. McGrone could be a really, really good player, and the Chiefs need help on the inside at linebacker. But that is my Week 2, I guess, NFL mock draft, where the Jets end up going with a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. Of course, be sure to let me know how much you disagree. I'm sure you will. And I will see you guys in the next one. Hit the subscribe button if you do for more mock drafts and the like. And I will see you in the next one. Take it easy.
We'll